Book title: The Heart of the Matter, A Leader's Guide to Understanding Your Chest and Living a Life of Well-Being, by Dr. Joseph Erikson. Introduction: The most important signal. On a cold February day in 1865, the telegram machine in the War apartment began to click. It was a message for President Lincoln. General Grant, his best general, was reporting from the front lines. The message was not about a victory or a defeat. It was a signal, a piece of raw information from the field that required interpretation and, most importantly, a decision. Lincoln didn't panic. He didn't fly into a rage or bury his head in his hands. He took the signal, understood its context, and acted with what the ancients called apatheia. Not apathy, but a calm, clear-headed command over his own mind. He was the leader. The signal was just information. His response was what mattered. You, when a strange and terrifying sensation radiates through your chest, are in that same position. Your body's War Department has sent an urgent telegram. It might feel like a death sentence. It might feel like the end of the world. Fear, cold and absolute, takes over. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once wrote, "There's more suffering in imagination than in reality." And in that moment of chest pain, our imagination can be a brutal tyrant. But what if we could see it differently? What if we could reframe it? This is the work. This is the entire ballgame. To see that sensation not as a final verdict, but as Lincoln saw the telegram, as a signal. It is perhaps the most important signal your body will ever send you. It is a message from the front lines, and you alone are the commander-in-chief. The paradigm shift from patient to protagonist. I've seen it thousands of times, says Dr. Joseph Erikson, a man who has spent 30 decades on the front lines of cardiac care. The fear is understandable, but fear is a terrible diagnostician. Fear paralyzes. Fear tells you to ignore it, to hope it goes away, to explain it away as just a little heartburn. Fear makes you a passive victim of circumstance. This is the crossroads every person in this situation faces. One path is reaction. The other is response. The reactor is ruled by fear. They either ignore the signal until it's too late, or they rush to the emergency room in a blind panic for what turns out to be a pulled muscle. Their actions are dictated not by reason, but by a desperate wish for the signal to simply go away. They have abdicated their authority to their own anxiety. The responder, the leader, sees the signal for what it is: information. This requires a profound paradigm shift. It requires moving from a state of passive fear to one of proactive control. You cannot control the sensation in your chest. That is outside your power. But as the Stoic Epictetus taught us, our judgments about events are entirely within our power. The pain is a fact. Your interpretation of it is a choice. The choice is to see this not as a curse, but as a call to action. It is a call to become the leader of your own healthcare team. Think about it. Who is with you 24/7? Who feels what you feel? Who knows if you've been sleeping poorly, eating junk food, or stressing about a deadline? Your doctor is an essential expert consultant, your General Grant. But you are the president. You are in the tent, making the final call. You are the protagonist of this story, not a background character. This book is not about turning you into a cardiologist. It is about turning you into a leader. It is about giving you the intelligence reports, the knowledge to understand the signals from the field. It will teach you to distinguish between a 5-alarm fire and a faulty fire alarm. It will give you the framework to communicate with your expert consultants, your doctors, with clarity and confidence. We will learn about the heart's plumbing and its electrical systems. We will meet the great pretenders, the non-cardiac causes of chest pain that can mimic a heart attack and sow needless panic. We will learn when to act with urgent, deliberate speed and when to schedule a calm, measured consultation. The ancient Romans had a concept they called memento mori, meaning remember you will die. This wasn't meant to be morbid. It was meant to be a tool, a motivator, to live a life of virtue and purpose right now. A sudden chest pain is our modern visceral memento mori. It is a jarring, unwelcome, but ultimately powerful reminder of our own mortality. The obstacle is the way. That terrifying signal, it is the obstacle. It is also the way forward. It is the catalyst that can force you to stop sleepwalking through your health. It is the urgent message that gives you a chance to change the outcome of the war. Don't let fear corrupt the message. Don't abdicate your command. It's time to open the telegram, read the intelligence, and lead. Let's begin.
Part 1. Seek first to understand. Your body's language. Chapter 1. The messenger in your chest, more than just pain. In the ancient world, kings did not execute the messenger who brought bad news. That was the mark of a foolish, reactive tyrant. A wise ruler knew the messenger was not the news itself. The messenger was a resource. The clarity of his message, the precision of his language, was the difference between victory and defeat. The king who could not get a clear report from the field was a king who was fighting blind. When a sensation begins in your chest, a messenger has arrived. Your first impulse, driven by instinct and fear, is to want to execute him, to make it stop, to deny it is happening. Your second impulse is to give the king, your conscious mind, your doctor, a terrible report. It hurts. What does that mean? Hurt is a useless word in this context. It is the report of an amateur, a panicked soldier. It's like a scout returning from a reconnaissance mission and saying only, "I saw the enemy." Where? How many? What were they doing? Were they armed with swords or pitchforks? Were they marching or making camp? Precision is everything. The single most important diagnostic tool I have, Dr. Erikson tells us, his voice honed by decades of listening, is not the multi-million-dollar imaging machine down the hall. It's the first 60 seconds I spend listening to a person describe what they are feeling. The words they choose are the map. Everything else follows from there. The work, then, is to become a better messenger, to provide a clear and precise report, to trade the blunt instrument of pain for the scalpel of specific description. This is not about self-diagnosis. Leave that to the experts. This is about providing elite-level intelligence so the experts can do their job. It is an act of taking control, of moving from being the subject of a sensation to the investigator of it. Let's build our symptom compass. These are the primary dispatches from the front. Learn them. Understand their language. The dispatch of pressure, the elephant. This is the one from the movies, the classic, the feeling of an immense weight, a crushing or squeezing pressure in the center of the chest. The old cliché is an elephant sitting on my chest, and for good reason. It feels external. immense and suffocating. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to see things for what they are, to strip away the legend that encrusts them. The legend here is terror. The reality is pressure. Dr. Erikson describes it using a simple mechanical analogy. Imagine a fuel line to an engine getting squeezed shut. The engine is being starved. This sensation, pressure, tightness, a band tightening around your chest, is the classic signal of angina or a heart attack. The heart muscle itself is crying out for oxygen. The key words for your report: squeezing, tightness, crushing, weight. It might radiate, travel, to your shoulder, your arm, your jaw, or your neck. This is a critical piece of intelligence. Note it. Report it. The dispatch of fire, the volcano. This one is different. It's not a weight, it's a heat. It feels like a volcano of acid erupting from your stomach and climbing up your gullet into your chest. It often has a sour or bitter taste associated with it. It gets worse when you lie down or bend over. This is the language of the digestive system, not the cardiovascular system. This is the great pretender we call heartburn or acid reflux, GERD. The Stoics practiced the art of acquiescence, accepting what is, acknowledging that the burning you feel is more likely from last night's pizza than a plumbing problem in your heart is an act of rational acquiescence. It doesn't mean you ignore it. Severe reflux needs attention, but it means you categorize it correctly. The key words for your report: burning, acid, sour taste, worse when lying down. The dispatch of betrayal, the sharp stab. This is the ice pick, the lightning bolt. It's a sharp, stabbing pain, localized. You can often point to it exactly with one finger. It can be breathtakingly intense, but it's often fleeting. It might get worse when you take a deep breath, cough, or twist your body. Think of the body like a house, Dr. Erikson explains. This sharp, pinpoint pain is rarely the foundation, the heart. It's usually the drywall or the frame. It's a pulled muscle between the ribs. It's an inflamed cartilage, costochondritis. It might be inflammation in the lining of the lung, pleurisy. It is a betrayal because its sharpness feels so alarming, yet it often signals a surface-level issue. The key words for your report: sharp, stabbing, localized, I can point to it, worse with breathing or movement. The dispatch of anxiety, the panic button. And then there is the ghost, the pain that comes with a racing heart, shortness of breath, sweating, and an overwhelming sense of doom. The chest feels tight, yes, but the defining characteristic is the feeling of losing control. This is the signal of a panic attack. The suffering is real. The physical sensations are real, but their origin is in the brain's fight or flight system being triggered at the wrong time. It has pushed the panic button. The challenge here is that its symptoms overlap dramatically with a heart attack. This is where a leader does not gamble. This signal must be respected, but understanding its nature, that your mind can and does create profound physical sensations, is a crucial piece of wisdom. It allows you, once a cardiac event is ruled out, to fight the right enemy. To know these differences is to hold a map in a foreign land. You still need a guide, your doctor, but you are no longer lost. You are no longer a passive victim, subject to the whims of a terrifying, unknown sensation. You have taken the first, most critical step. You have sought to understand the message. You have refused to be a foolish king. You have honored the messenger, listened with intention, and prepared a clear, precise report. The obstacle, the raw, undefined sensation, is being transformed. It is becoming the way. It is becoming the very tool you will use to reclaim your own well-being.
Chapter 2. The Usual Suspects, When Your Heart is Crying Out. The Roman engineers who built the aqueducts were masters of systems. When the water stopped flowing to the city, they did not panic. They did not simply start digging at random. They knew that a failure of flow could come from one of a few root causes. Was it a blockage in the channel? A structural collapse? A problem at the source? They had a methodology. They understood the system, so they could diagnose the problem. They had to distinguish between a few clogged stones and a catastrophic failure of a supporting arch. One required a maintenance crew, the other an army of engineers. Your heart is a system. It is the most magnificent and vital aqueduct ever designed. When the signal of chest pain arrives, the wise leader does not panic. The wise leader asks, "What kind of problem am I dealing with?" When a patient comes in with chest pain, says Dr. Joseph Erikson, my mind immediately categorizes the cardiac possibilities into 3 main buckets. Think of it like a master mechanic troubleshooting a high-performance engine. Is it a fuel problem? An electrical problem? Or is it a problem with the engine's casing? This is the knowledge that strips away fear. To name a thing is to begin to have power over it. Let us meet the usual suspects, the primary cardiac causes of chest pain. Let us see them not as monsters in the dark, but as specific, understandable, mechanical problems. The plumbing problem, a clogged fuel line. This is the big one. This is the one that commands our respect and our immediate, deliberate action. This is the heart attack and its stern warning angina. Your heart, like any engine, needs fuel. Its fuel is oxygen-rich blood, delivered by a network of coronary arteries. These arteries are your body's fuel lines. Over a lifetime, due to genetics, diet, and lifestyle, these fuel lines can begin to get clogged. The process is called atherosclerosis, which is just a fancy word for the slow, patient buildup of gunk, a substance called plaque, on the inside of your arteries. For years, this buildup can go unnoticed. The fuel still flows, but eventually, the pipe gets narrow enough to cause a problem. This is where we see the 2 critical stages. Angina. The engine sputters. Imagine you're driving your car uphill. You press the gas, demanding more from the engine, but because the fuel line is partially clogged, the engine sputters. It doesn't get enough gas to meet the demand. When you get to the top of the hill and ease off the gas, the sputtering stops. This is angina. It's a temporary squeeze, a crushing pressure, that dispatch from Chapter 1 that happens when you exert yourself, like climbing stairs, arguing, running for a bus. Your heart is demanding more fuel than the narrowed pipe can deliver. When you rest, the demand drops and the pain subsides. It is a critical warning signal. The plumbing is compromised. Heart attack. The fuel line is cut. A piece of that plaque on the artery wall suddenly ruptures. The body, in its wisdom, thinks it's a wound and rushes to form a blood clot to heal it. But this clot doesn't save you. It's the final, fatal blockage in the already narrowed pipe. The fuel line is now completely cut. The part of the heart muscle supplied by that artery is now being starved of oxygen. It is beginning to die. This is a heart attack, myocardial infarction. The pressure doesn't go away with rest. The engine is seizing. This is not a warning. This is a 5-alarm fire. The electrical fault, a faulty circuit. Your house has a plumbing system, but it also has an electrical system. If the lights flicker on and off, you don't call a plumber. It's a different kind of problem. Your heart, too, has an electrical system. A tiny node, a master switch called the SA node, fires off a regular, rhythmic electrical pulse.
This pulse tells the chambers of your heart to contract in a perfect coordinated rhythm, lub-dub, lub-dub. But sometimes that circuitry can go high-wire. The signal can become erratic. This is an arrhythmia. Instead of a steady lub-dub, the lights flicker. You might feel a fluttering or a bag of worms feeling in your chest, a racing sensation as if your heart is sprinting while you're standing still, a skipped beat followed by a hard, noticeable thump. This is the electrical fault. The sensation is unnerving, but it is fundamentally different from the crushing pressure of a plumbing problem. It can cause a form of chest pain or discomfort, but its root cause is in the timing, not the pipes. While many arrhythmias are benign, some can be dangerous. The signal must be investigated by a professional, an electrician in this metaphor, who can determine if it's just a loose wire or a major short circuit. The inflamed casing, the rubbing blister. Your heart does not just sit in your chest cavity. It's protected. It sits inside a thin, tough, two-layered sac called the pericardium. This is its casing, its suit of armor. Normally, the layers of this sac glide smoothly over one another with every beat. But if the sac becomes inflamed from a virus, an injury, or another medical condition, it's a different story. This is pericarditis. Dr. Erikson's analogy is simple and perfect. Imagine getting a blister on your heel from a new shoe. The shoe is the sac, your foot is the heart. Every step you take, every time your heart beats, it rubs against the raw, inflamed area, and it hurts. This pain is the sharp, stabbing kind we met in the last chapter. It's a betrayal. It's often worse when you breathe deeply or lie down, which changes the way the heart sits in the sac. And it feels better when you lean forward. The engine is fine. The plumbing is clear. The electricity is stable. But the casing is irritated. The blister is rubbing with every single beat. Plumbing, electrical, casing. These are the usual suspects. This knowledge is not for you to make a final diagnosis. That is the job of a fool. This knowledge is a tool. It is your map. It is what allows you to give a clear, precise report to your expert consultant. It is what allows you to replace the formless monster of chest pain with a specific, named adversary. And as the great Stoic thinkers knew, to see a thing clearly for what it is, stripped of the story we tell ourselves about it, is the beginning of all wisdom and the end of all fear.
Chapter 3. The Great Pretenders, When It's Not Your Heart. In the chaotic days of the Roman Empire, the Praetorian Guard was a formidable force. They were the emperor's personal bodyguards, the elite soldiers stationed within the city itself. They were meant to be the ultimate signal of security and order. But sometimes the guard was the source of the chaos. They would get restless, make demands, or even stage a coup. A citizen hearing a commotion from the palace would assume the emperor was under attack. They would fear the worst. But a wise senator would pause and ask a crucial question. Is this an outside invader, or is it just the Praetorians being loud again? Most of the time, it was the Praetorians. Your chest is a palace. The emperor is your heart. But there are a lot of other characters living in and around that palace. There are cooks, carpenters, and nervous watchmen. And sometimes they get very, very loud. They are the great pretenders, the non-cardiac conditions that mimic the terror of a heart attack. To know them is an act of wisdom. It is the ability to distinguish an internal squabble from a full-blown invasion. This knowledge doesn't make you reckless, it makes you rational. It is the tool you use to quell the tyranny of fear. The emergency room, Dr. Joseph Erikson says with a wry smile, is the great theater of the pretenders. We see people every single day who are convinced they are dying. They are suffering. Their fear is real, but their heart is perfectly fine. Their problem is a 5-alarm chili attack, a strained muscle from lifting a suitcase, or their own mind playing tricks on them. Our first job is to rule out the emperor's assassin. Our second is to identify the real culprit. Let us unmask these imposters. The digestive drama, the diva in the esophagus. The esophagus, the tube connecting your throat to your stomach, passes directly behind your heart. It is the heart's next-door neighbor, and it is a diva. When it's unhappy, it doesn't just tap on the wall, it throws a screaming, fiery tantrum that can feel exactly like a cardiac catastrophe. The fiery eruption, GERD. We met this one briefly before. It's the classic pretender. At the top of your stomach is a valve, a little muscular door. Its job is to stay shut. When it gets lazy or overwhelmed, it allows stomach acid, a substance with the corrosive power of battery acid, to splash upward into the delicate esophagus. This is gastroesophageal reflux disease. The sensation is that burning volcano, a searing heat that can radiate through the chest. It's the body's equivalent of a bad chemical spill. The sudden spasm. Sometimes for reasons not entirely understood, the esophagus itself can cramp up. It's a Charlie horse of the gullet. The pain is a sudden, intense, squeezing pressure, almost indistinguishable from the elephant of angina. The key clue? It might be triggered by swallowing, especially very hot or very cold liquids. It's a muscular problem, not a plumbing problem. The understudy, gallbladder. Tucked under your liver, your gallbladder can also throw a fit, especially after a fatty meal. It can cause intense pain in your upper abdomen that radiates to your chest and shoulder. It's the angry understudy, screaming from the wings, trying to steal the scene. The framework fracture, the grumbling carpenter. Your chest is not just a hollow box. It is a structure, a framework of bone, muscle, and cartilage. And like any house, it can creak and groan. The strained muscle. You spent Saturday helping a friend move. You lifted a heavy box at a weird angle. On Sunday, you feel a persistent, dull ache in your chest. It gets worse when you twist or lift your arm. This isn't your heart, it's the grumbling carpenter, the intercostal muscle between your ribs, reminding you of your weekend's labor. The inflamed joint, costochondritis. This is one of the most common and convincing pretenders. Where your ribs meet your breastbone, there is a connection made of cartilage. For various reasons, this cartilage can become inflamed. The result is a sharp, stabbing pain. And here is the secret, the wisdom that defeats this imposter. It is tender to the touch. If you can press on a specific spot on your chest and it reproduces the pain, you have likely unmasked the culprit. You can't press on a heart attack. This is the body's check engine light that you can poke. It's a problem with the frame, not the engine inside it. The panic button, the traitor in the watchtower. This is the most subtle and, in many ways, the most terrifying pretender. The pain it causes is absolutely real. The fear is justified. But the source of the danger is a lie. Your body has a watchtower, the amygdala, your fear center of your brain. Its job is to scan for threats. When it sees one, a charging bear, a swerving car, it hits the panic button. This unleashes a flood of adrenaline, preparing you for fight or flight. Your heart races to pump more blood. You breathe faster to get more oxygen. Your muscles tense up. A panic attack is when the watchman sees a shadow, mistakes it for a bear, and hits that button. There is no bear, but the adrenaline is real. Your heart pounds, you feel short of breath, you get dizzy, and your muscles seize up, causing a crushing, terrifying tightness. You feel a sense of impending doom because your body is screaming danger, even though there is none. It is a traitorous signal. The system is working perfectly, but it's responding to a phantom threat. To know these pretenders is not to dismiss them. All chest pain is guilty until proven innocent. The leader's job is not to gamble. The leader's job is to gather intelligence, to remain calm, and to present a clear case to their expert consultant.
When you understand these imposters, you change the nature of your fear. You are no longer the terrified citizen hearing a noise from the palace. You are the wise senator who can calmly assess the situation. Is it the fire of the cook's spicy lunch? The hammering of the carpenter fixing the frame? Or is it the watchman having another one of his fits? This clarity is power. This is the beginning of control. You are learning to know your court so you can better protect the emperor.
Part 2. The Habits of a Heart-Healthy Hero. Chapter 4. Habit 1. Be proactive. From worrier to warrior. The story is told of a young officer in the army of Alexander the Great. Before a decisive battle, this officer, tasked with guarding a critical mountain pass, saw the dust of an approaching column. It was a terrifying signal. The enemy? A relief force? A sandstorm? His mind raced. He could abandon his post and flee, a slave to his fear. He could freeze, paralyzed by indecision. Or he could do his job. He chose to do his job. He dispatched scouts, calmed his men, and prepared his defenses. He chose to act, not to be acted upon. The approaching column turned out to be harmless traitors, but that is irrelevant. In the moment of decision, faced with a terrifying and ambiguous signal, he chose to be a warrior, not a worrier. He took ownership of the one thing he could control, his own response. This is the first virtue. This is the foundation upon which all else is built. When that signal arrives in your chest, you are that young officer at the pass. The dust on the horizon is the strange pressure, the sharp stab, the unsettling flutter. Your first instinct is fear. Your mind, a brilliant but anxious servant, will paint 1,000 terrible scenarios. It will whisper of doom. This is the moment of truth. You will either be reactive or proactive. There is no middle ground. The worrier is reactive. Ruled by the signal, they give their power away. The worrier comes in two flavors: denial and panic. The denier pretends the dust cloud isn't there. It's just indigestion, they say for the 5th time this week. I'll lie down for a bit. They ignore the signal, hoping it will vanish, ceding the battlefield to the enemy without a fight. The panicker sees the dust cloud and sprints in the opposite direction, screaming that the world is ending. They're a slave to their adrenal glands. Both are victims of their circumstances, driven by emotion, not reason. The warrior is proactive. The warrior acknowledges the fear. They are not a fool, but they do not obey it. The warrior understands what the Stoics taught. We do not control the events that happen to us, but we control our response to those events. The pain is not your fault, but your response to it is your responsibility, utterly and completely. Proactivity is the antidote to fear, Dr. Joseph Erikson states, leaning forward with an intensity that tells you this is the absolute core of his philosophy. Fear thrives in the space of inaction. It metastasizes in the dark. The moment you take one small, deliberate step, you turn the lights on, you begin to shrink the fear. The proactive patient isn't the one who isn't scared. They are the one who acts anyway. Taking ownership is not about blame. It is about power. It is about picking up the reins of your life that you let drop in that first moment of fright. This is not a vague platitude. It is a concrete operational discipline. It is the 3-step action plan. The 3-step action plan, the warrior's drill. Step 1, acknowledge the signal without panic. The signal arrives. The pressure, the burn, the flutter. Before you do anything else, pause. Take one deep breath. Create a sliver of space between the sensation and your reaction. This is the practice of Marcus Aurelius, who told himself to see things as they are,
without any of the drapery of tragedy. The sensation is just a sensation. It is not yet a story. Acknowledge it like a scientist observing a data point. Okay, you say to yourself, there is a feeling of tightness in my chest. That's it. No judgment, no catastrophe. Just the facts. You have stopped being the victim of the sensation and have become its observer. Step 2. Assess the situation. Consult your intelligence briefings. In that space you have created, you consult the intelligence briefings from the previous chapters. You are no longer fighting blind. You ask the clarifying questions. You are the king questioning the messenger. What kind of signal is this? Is it the pressure of a plumbing problem? The burning of a digestive drama? The sharp, localized pain of a framework fracture? Does it get worse when I move? Does it feel better when I lean forward? Is it accompanied by a feeling of overwhelming dread? You are running through the diagnostic checklist, applying reason to the problem. You are using the symptom compass. You are categorizing the threat. Step 3. Act wisely. Execute the decision. Based on your assessment, you now make a deliberate choice. This is where leadership becomes action. The choice is not based on fear or hope, but on a rational plan. Is the signal a potential plumbing problem? The crushing, squeezing pressure of angina or a heart attack that is persistent? The course of action is non-negotiable. It is clear, simple, and absolute. You call your country's emergency services number immediately. This is not a moment for hesitation. This is the commander seeing the enemy breach the main gate and calling for the elite guard. Is the signal a great pretender or a less urgent dispatch? The sharp pain you can reproduce by pressing on it. The burning that feels suspiciously like that chili you ate. The fleeting flutter. The course of action is different, but no less deliberate. You call your doctor's office. You schedule an appointment. You calmly state your observations. You are logging the event and calling in your expert consultant for a formal review. This 3-step drill is your weapon. It is the practice that transforms you from a worrier, tossed about by the waves of fear, into a warrior who navigates those waves with purpose and skill. Proactivity is the habit of taking the initiative. It is the refusal to be a bystander in your own life. When the signal comes from your chest, it is asking a single profound question. Who is in charge here? The warrior's answer is always the same. I am.
Chapter 5. Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind, charting your course to vitality. Seneca, in a letter to his young friend Lucilius, gave a piece of advice that should be carved into the stone of every hospital entrance. If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. The sailor who leaves the harbor with no destination is not a sailor. He is a drifter. He is a victim of the currents, a plaything of the winds. He cannot make a decision about whether to turn the rudder left or right because he has no basis for the choice. Any direction is as good and as bad as any other. This is the state in which most people approach their health. It is the state in which they arrive in a doctor's office after a scare. The signal of chest pain has terrified them. They have been proactive, they have shown up, but when the doctor asks the most important question in medicine, they are completely unprepared. The question is not, where does it hurt? The question is, what do you want? And the answer is almost always the same. I just don't want this to happen again. I don't want to die. These are not goals. These are fears. They are a desire to sail away from a storm, but they give no information about the port you are trying to reach. To define your life by what you are running from is to condemn yourself to a life of looking over your shoulder. The work, then, is to turn around and look forward. The work is to define the destination.
I see two kinds of patients, Dr. Joseph Erikson explains, his hands steepled in front of him. The first kind says, "Doc, fix me." They see their body as a broken car and me as the mechanic. They are passive. The second kind says, "Doc, I want to be able to hike the Grand Canyon with my grandkids in 5 years. Or I want to be able to dance at my daughter's wedding without getting winded. Or even just, I want to be able to carry my groceries upstairs without fear." That second patient has given me a destination. They have given me a blueprint. Now we can be partners. We can make a plan. We're not just fixing a problem, we are building a life. This is the discipline of beginning with the end in mind. Before you can effectively partner with your doctor, before you can make intelligent daily choices, before you can truly motivate yourself, you must define what you are fighting for, not just what you are fighting against. This requires creating a personal health mission statement. This is not a corporate buzzword. It is the practice of the great leaders and thinkers. Marcus Aurelius did not become emperor and simply react to the day's events. He wrote his meditations for himself, defining the principles he would live by. He began with the end in mind, to be a good man and a just ruler. And that vision guided every difficult decision he had to make. Your health mission statement is your meditations. It is the personal creed that will guide you through the fog of fear and the daily grind of habit change. It is your North Star. When you have this mission, the entire landscape shifts. The goal is no longer the grim, joyless task of not getting sick. The goal becomes the positive, vibrant pursuit of vitality. Vitality is not merely the absence of sickness. Vitality is the strength to lift your luggage into the overhead bin. It is the stamina to play tag with a child. It is the mental clarity that comes from a nourished body. It is the freedom to say yes to life's adventures. A health mission statement is the tool that filters your choices. When faced with the decision, the donut in the break room, the elevator versus the stairs, the extra hour of television versus a walk around the block, you have a simple, powerful question to ask. Does this action move me closer to my destination or further away from it? How to chart your course. This is not complicated. Take out a piece of paper or open a new note on your phone. Sit quietly for 10 minutes and answer these questions from the core of your being. Do not write what you think you should want. Write what you truly want. What activities bring me genuine joy and energy? For example, playing a sport, gardening, working on a project, traveling. Who are the people I want to be strong and present for? For example, my spouse, my children, my grandchildren, my friends. What does being present for them look like? What does vitality feel like in my body? Imagine yourself 1 year from now, healthier and stronger. What are you doing? How does it feel? Be specific. What is a simple, meaningful accomplishment I want my health to allow me to do? For example, to walk a 5K, to be able to get on the floor and play with my dog, to have the energy to pursue my hobby after work. Now, synthesize your answers into 1 or 2 sentences. This is your first draft. Example 1. My mission is to have the energy and strength to be an active and playful grandparent and to be able to travel with my wife without being limited by my health. Example 2. My mission is to fuel my body with the respect it deserves so I have the mental clarity to do my best work and the physical stamina to enjoy hiking on weekends. This statement is now your constitution. It is the standard. It transforms the conversation with your doctor from "what pills do I take?" to "what is the strategy to help me achieve this mission?" It turns you from a patient into a protagonist. The sailor who knows his port can use any wind, even a contrary one, to tack and zigzag his way towards his destination. The sailor who does not is already lost. Know your port.
Chapter 6. Habit 3. Put first things first. The art of triage in your life. On the blood-soaked battlefields of the Napoleonic Wars, a French surgeon named Dominique Jean Laury looked upon the chaos and saw a fatal flaw in the system. The wounded were treated based on their rank. A general with a flesh wound was rushed to the front of the line while a private with a shattered leg bled to death. It was madness. It was inefficient. It was unjust. Laurie, a man of reason in an unreasonable world, invented a radical new system. He called it triage. The principle was brutally, beautifully simple. The severity of the wound, and nothing else, would determine the order of treatment. The most critical went first. It was a revolution in priorities. It was the discipline of putting first things first, when everything, at once, seems like the first thing. You, every day, are on a battlefield. The incoming wounded are the endless demands on your time and attention. The email that buzzes, the phone that rings, the television that glows, the minor worry that masquerades as a crisis. And then amidst that chaos, a true signal arrives, a dispatch from your chest. How you triage that signal, where you place it in your hierarchy of priorities, is a decision that can define the rest of your life. The Stoic philosopher Seneca observed that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a good deal of it. We are masters of majoring in minor things. We will spend an hour worrying about a rude comment and a minute dismissing a recurring ache. We are by nature terrible at triage. We are drawn to the urgent, whether or not it is important. This is the discipline we must master. The greatest tragedy I see is the tyranny of the trivial. Dr. Joseph Erikson says, his voice quiet but firm. It's the man who puts off calling my office about his chest tightness because he has an important meeting at work. It's the woman who ignores her fluttering heart because she's too busy with the kids. That meeting was not important. That busyness was not important. They were merely urgent. They confused the noise of the battle with the turning point of the war. They put the general with the scratch ahead of the soldier with the mortal wound. The work here is to become your own battlefield surgeon. It is to apply the ruthless logic of triage to your health. The tool for this is a simple but profound matrix, a way of seeing the world not just as a long to-do list, but as a map of priorities. Quadrant 1. Urgent and important. This is the crisis. This is the arterial bleed. This is the crushing chest pain that does not stop. This is the heart attack. This box requires immediate, decisive action. It is the realm of the warrior's reflex, built upon the training we have already done. You do not deliberate here, you act. Quadrant 2, not urgent but important. This is where life is won or lost. This is the zone of leadership, of foresight, of discipline. This is scheduling your annual checkup. This is taking 30 minutes for a walk. This is choosing the grilled chicken over the fried chicken. This is taking your prescribed medication every single day. There is no urgency here. The phone isn't ringing, no one is screaming, and so it is the easiest quadrant to ignore. But every moment you spend here is a direct investment in preventing a crisis in Quadrant 1. Warriors live in Quadrant 2. Quadrant 3. Urgent but not important. This is the zone of distraction. The buzzing phone, the endless stream of reply-all emails, the minor ache your anxiety convinces you is a tumor. These things feel urgent, they demand your attention now. But are they important? Do they align with your mission? Almost never. This is the general with the flesh wound, demanding to be seen. The wise surgeon nods, and then moves on to the critical patient. Quadrant 4. Not urgent and not important. This is the zone of waste, mindless scrolling on social media, trivial worries, gossiping. This is the desertion of your duties. To put first things first is to have the wisdom to distinguish Quadrant 1 from Quadrant 3 in a moment of pressure, and the discipline to live your life in Quadrant 2. To help with that first critical task, we need a tool. A simple, clear protocol for when the signal arrives. The when to wait, when to go flowchart. This is your triage tag. It is not a substitute for a doctor's brain, but it is a powerful field guide to help you make a rational decision when fear is clouding your judgment. Start here. A new or frightening chest sensation begins. Is the sensation crushing, squeezing, or like a heavy pressure in the center of your chest? Does it last more than a few minutes? Does it radiate to your arm, neck, or jaw? Yes? This is quadrant 1. Go. Call emergency services. Do not drive yourself. No? Go to question 2. Is the sensation sharp, stabbing, and can you make it worse by pressing on a specific spot, twisting your body, or taking a deep breath? Yes? This is likely quadrant 3. Urgent feeling, less important cause. Wait. This is likely a framework or muscular issue. Call your doctor's office to schedule a non-emergency appointment. You are putting this in quadrant 2 for follow-up. No, go to question 3. Is the sensation a burning feeling that gets worse when you lie down or after you eat? Is it accompanied by a sour taste? Yes, this is likely quadrant 3. Wait, this is probably a digestive drama. Take an antacid, observe. If it persists or worries you, schedule a doctor's visit. Move it to quadrant 2. No, go to question 4. The commander's override. Despite the answers above, is the sensation accompanied by severe shortness of breath, dizziness, or an overwhelming sense of doom? Are you simply in doubt? Yes, go. When in doubt, default to quadrant 1. The virtue here is prudence. A false alarm is infinitely better than a missed catastrophe. This is the art of triage. It is the application of reason in the face of chaos. It is the ultimate expression of putting first things first. Because the first thing always is to live. And not just to live, but to live a life of vitality. A life built on the quiet daily discipline of living in quadrant 2.
Chapter 7. Habit 4. Think win-win. Forging a partnership with your doctor. In the Roman Republic, before the emperors seized absolute power, the state was led not by one man, but by two. Two consuls, elected for a 1-year term. They had to work together. If one consul went to war, the other had to manage the city. If one proposed a law, the other had to agree. They could at any moment veto each other. The system was designed with a profound insight into human nature. Absolute power was a fragile foundation. True, durable strength came from partnership, from shared goals, from a system where one man could not succeed at the expense of the other. For centuries, the doctor-patient relationship has been modeled not on the two consuls, but on the later Roman dynamic of the patron and his client. The doctor was the powerful patron, the dispenser of wisdom, orders, and prescriptions. The patient was the humble client, grateful, passive, and deferential. The client came to the patron, hat in hand, and accepted what was given. This was a win-lose relationship. The doctor won by maintaining absolute authority. The patient lost by having no agency, no voice, no ownership. This model is broken. It is a relic. It is unworthy of a warrior who has decided to be proactive and begin with the end in mind. The work now is to tear down that old structure and build a new one. The work is to forge a partnership. To think win-win is to reject the idea that a medical consultation is a transaction. It is not. It is a strategic alliance. It is the formation of a two-person consulship with a single shared purpose: your health. The patient who walks into my office and essentially says, "Tell me what to do," creates a win-lose scenario from the start, Dr. Joseph Erikson says, shaking his head. I can win by giving orders, but I know that a passive patient is a non-compliant patient. They won't understand the why behind the plan, so they won't stick with it. We both end up losing. The patient who comes in and says, "Here is my situation, here is my goal, and I need your expertise to help me build a plan," that person has just invited me to be their partner. That is a game we can both win. A win for you is not about getting a specific pill or proving a point. Your win is clarity and a workable plan that moves you closer to your health mission. A win for your doctor is not about being right or getting you out of the office quickly. Their win is an engaged, informed patient who provides high-quality intelligence and is motivated to execute the plan. This is synergy. This is the 1 + 1 = 3 that comes from a true alliance. But this partnership does not happen by accident. It is built with discipline and strategy. You, as the proactive leader of your own health, must be the one to initiate it. The Diplomat's Toolkit. Forging the Alliance. 1. The pre-mission briefing. Prepare. You will not walk into your doctor's office unprepared. You will gather your intelligence. This includes your health mission statement. You might even say it out loud. Doctor, my goal is to be able to hike with my family again. That's the port I'm sailing for. A simple timeline, not a novel, a few bullet points. When did the symptoms start? What do they feel like? What makes them better or worse? A list of questions. Your mind will go blank in the moment. Write them down. No question is stupid. What is the most likely cause? What are the next steps? What are the side effects of this medication? 2. The opening salvo, the script. You must set the tone. You are not a passive client. You are a prospective partner. You do this with deliberate language. Instead of waiting to be interrogated, you begin with, here's a brief summary of what I've been experiencing. This presents you as an organized reporter of facts. Connect to your mission. My primary concern is how this affects my ability to your mission. This frames the problem in the context of your life, not just as a medical issue. To ensure you understand, let me repeat back what I think you're saying to make sure I have it right. This is not questioning their authority, it's demonstrating your engagement. 3. The treaty negotiation, the plan. The end of the appointment is the most critical phase. This is where the plan is formalized. Your job is to ensure the terms are clear. Ask the crucial question, what is our plan and what is my specific role in executing it over the next weeks or months? Define success. How will we know if this plan is working? Clarify the next communication. When and how should I follow up with you? Walking into a doctor's office with this toolkit is not an act of aggression. It is an act of profound respect. Respect for the doctor's time and expertise, and respect for your own life. You are providing them with the highest quality raw material, clear information, and a defined goal, so they can apply their expert knowledge most effectively. You are changing the dynamic. You are refusing to be a passive client. You are asking them to serve with you as an equal consul in the vital and noble campaign for your own well-being. You walk out of the office not as a patient who has been diagnosed, but as a partner who has a plan.
Part 3. The Leader's Toolkit, Diagnosis and Management. Chapter 8. The Diagnostic Journey, What to Expect When They're Inspecting. When the great cartographers of old set out to map the world, they did not do so out of fear. They did so out of a thirst for knowledge, for clarity. They faced the terrifying unknown, oceans marked, "Here be monsters," with tools and a methodology. Their goal was to replace the monsters of the imagination with the clear, hard lines of reality, to turn a terrifying void into a known world. The modern diagnostic lab is the cartographer's workshop, and the unknown is the territory of your own body. Fear of this journey is the single greatest reason people delay seeking help. The mind, left to its own devices, will always draw the most terrifying monsters in the margins of the map. It will whisper of pain, of bad news, of sterile machines and cold silence. This is a lie. This is a story you are telling yourself. The work is to see the diagnostic process for what it is, not a trial, but a mapping expedition. It is the noble and necessary act of replacing fear with facts. It is pulling back the curtain so you can see the truth. Quote, the fear of the tests is often worse than the tests themselves, and almost always worse than the reality of the results, says Dr. Joseph Erikson. I tell my patients to think of me not as a judge, but as a scout they have hired. My job is to go into the territory, draw an accurate map, and bring it back so that we, as partners, can plan our route forward. The machines are just my tools for drawing that map. To see the tools for what they are is to rob them of their power to intimidate. These are the 4 primary instruments in the cardiologist's toolkit. Let us strip them of their mystery. 1. The ECG, or EKG, the electrical snapshot. Imagine you suspect a brief power surge in your house. You wouldn't call an electrician to rewire the whole building. You would first get a quick reading of the current. The electrocardiogram, or ECG/EKG, is precisely that, a quick, painless, instantaneous snapshot of your heart's electrical activity. What it is, it's a series of sticky pads, electrodes, are placed on your chest, arms, and legs. They listen to the electrical signals that make your heart beat. A machine records these signals as a series of wavy lines on a strip of paper. What it feels like. You lie still for about a minute. That's it. There's no shock, no pain. You feel nothing but the cool stickiness of the pads. What it tells us. It provides an immediate look at the heart's rhythm. Is it steady or erratic, an arrhythmia? Is there evidence of an ongoing or previous plumbing problem, a heart attack? It is the first, fastest, and most fundamental reading from the field. 2. The echocardiogram, the ultrasound movie. The ECG is a snapshot. The echocardiogram is a movie. If the ECG is listening to the electricity, the echo is watching the heart move. It is the scout setting up a camera to observe the fortress in action. What it is? It's an ultrasound, the same technology used to look at a baby in the womb. A technician places a cool gel on your chest and moves a smooth plastic wand, a transducer, over the area. The wand sends out sound waves that bounce off your heart, creating a real-time video on a screen. What it feels like. You lie on your side. You will feel the light pressure of the wand. It is completely painless. What it tells us. This is a wealth of information. We can see the squeeze, how well your heart is pumping. We can see the valves opening and closing. We can see the size and shape of the chambers. It shows us the structure and function in motion. 3. The stress test. Putting the engine under load. If your car only makes a funny noise when you're going uphill, you can't diagnose it while it's parked in the garage. You have to put the engine under a controlled load to see how it performs. The stress test does exactly that for your heart. You are hooked up to an ECG and a blood pressure cuff. Then you walk on a treadmill that gradually gets faster and steeper. The goal is to safely increase your heart rate to see how your heart responds to the stress of exercise. What it feels like. You feel like you're exercising. You will get tired, you will breathe heavily, and you will sweat. But you are being monitored every second. It is a safe, controlled environment. What it tells us. This is the classic test for a plumbing problem, angina. If the coronary arteries are narrowed, they may deliver enough blood at rest, but not enough during exertion. If the ECG shows changes or you develop chest pain during the test, it's a powerful clue that there is a significant blockage. 4. The angiogram, the GPS roadmap. This is the definitive map. This is no longer a sketch from a distance. This is the expedition traveling down the rivers to chart every twist and turn. An angiogram is the gold standard for seeing the inside of your heart's plumbing. What it is an invasive procedure, which sounds scarier than it is. You're given medication to relax. A doctor inserts a very thin, flexible tube, a catheter, into an artery in your wrist or groin and gently guides it up to your heart. A special dye is then injected through the tube and X-ray videos are taken. The dye lights up the coronary arteries, revealing their exact location and any blockages with perfect clarity. These tests are not a verdict. They are not a judgment. They're light. They're information. They are the tools we use to dispel the shadows of the unknown and draw a clear map. And with a clear map, you and your partner, your doctor, can chart a course to any destination you choose. You are not the subject being inspected. You are the commander reading the map.
Chapter 9. The Management Plan. Synergy in Action. The Roman legion was the most dominant military force in the ancient world for centuries. It was not because the Roman soldier was individually stronger or braver than his barbarian foe. It was because the legion was a system. It was synergy in action. One man with a shield, scutum, can block a blow. One man with a short sword, gladius, can strike a blow. One man with a javelin, pilum, can disrupt a charge. But when these men lock their shields together into the famous testudo, the tortoise formation, they do not merely add their strengths, they multiply them. They become an armored, bristling fortress, impervious to the arrows and stones of the enemy. The whole becomes infinitely greater than the sum of its parts. Your management plan for heart health is a testudo. To think you can fight this battle with a single weapon is the height of folly. It is the lone soldier, believing his sword is enough, who is quickly overwhelmed. Yet, this is precisely how most people approach their health after a diagnosis. They seek a single solution, a magic pill, a miracle diet. They are asking for a sword when they need a legion. The most frustrating conversation I have is with the patient who thinks we are negotiating a menu, Dr. Joseph Erikson says, leaning forward with an almost pleading intensity. They'll say, "Doc, I really hate taking pills. Can't I just change my diet?" Or the opposite, "Just give me the pill. I don't have time for exercise." They're asking me which soldier they should send into battle alone. The answer is none of them. We are not picking one. We are assembling a legion. We are locking the shields. This is the discipline of synergy. It is the understanding that true, durable health comes from combining the best of medical science with the timeless power of personal discipline. One is the what, the other is the how. Together, they are an unstoppable force. The what? The legionary's equipment. These are the tools provided by medical science. This is the expertly crafted shield, sword, and javelin. To refuse them out of pride or ignorance is to willingly go into battle unarmed. The most common tools in the arsenal include statins, the supply line cleaners. These remarkable medications are like the engineering core of the legion, tasked with keeping the supply roads, your arteries, clear. They reduce the amount of cholesterol your body produces, which slows or even reverses the buildup of that dangerous plaque we discussed. They are a foundational tool for any plumbing problem. Aspirin and blood thinners. They're the traffic cops. A heart attack is often caused by a blood clot forming on a piece of ruptured plaque. These medications make your blood less sticky. They're the traffic cops posted at busy intersections, preventing the kind of pile-up, a clot, that can shut down the whole city. Beta blockers and blood pressure meds, the engine governors. These medications are designed to reduce the workload on your heart. They're like a governor on an engine, preventing it from redlining. They can lower your blood pressure, slow your heart rate, and decrease the force of its contractions. This gives the heart muscle precious room to rest and recover. It's not about making the heart weak. It's about making it work smarter, not harder. This is the what. This is the equipment. But equipment is useless without a disciplined soldier to wield it. The how. The soldier's discipline. This is your part. This is the daily drill, the training, the lifestyle. This is the realm of what is entirely within your control. The Stoics knew that while we don't control the battle, we do control our own actions. This is where you become the legionary. The fuel, your diet. A legion cannot march on cheap wine and stale bread. It needs quality fuel. This isn't about esoteric diets or miserable deprivation. It is a simple philosophy. Eat real food. More plants, less processed junk. You are either providing your body with the raw materials for strength and repair, or you are giving it the sludge that clogs the supply lines your medication is trying to clear. The drill. movement. A soldier's body is his primary weapon. A sedentary body is a rusty sword. This doesn't mean you need to become an Olympian. It means you must answer the body's fundamental need to move. A daily walk, taking the stairs, stretching. This is the drill that keeps the cardiovascular engine tuned, strong, and efficient. The commander's calm, stress management. A panicked legion is a defeated legion. Chronic stress, as we've seen, is the traitor in the watchtower, constantly flooding your system with corrosive adrenaline. The discipline of managing your stress through mindfulness, proper sleep, or simply making time for quiet is an act of command. It is you, the centurion, calming the ranks before a charge. Here is the synergy. This is the testudo. The statin, the what, works to clean the plaque from your arteries, while your diet, the how, stops you from dumping more junk into them. The beta blocker, the what, eases your heart's workload, while exercise, the how, strengthens the heart muscle itself, making it more efficient. To choose one without the other is to send a single soldier into the fray. To embrace both is to lock your shield with your neighbors. It is to understand that the what and the how are not a menu of options. They are a unified, synergistic plan. You are the commander of this legion. Your doctor is your trusted advisor, the expert who helps you choose the right equipment. But you are the one who gives the orders. You are the one who instills discipline, and you are the one who decides every day to lock the shields and march forward toward the port you have chosen.
Chapter 10. Sharpen the Saw. The 4 Dimensions of Lifelong Heart Health. The story is told that before Abraham Lincoln became a politician, a young man asked him for advice on becoming a successful lawyer. Lincoln's reply was not about rhetoric or law books. He said, "Get a copy of Blackstone's Commentaries and read it carefully through. That is the foundation of all legal knowledge." Then he paused, and as the story goes, he added something to the effect of, "An axe that is sharp can fell a great many trees." The work is not in the frantic swinging. The work is in the patient, deliberate sharpening of the axe. You have survived the initial battle. You have faced the terrifying signal from your chest. You have learned its language, met the suspects, and forged a plan. The temptation now is to think the war is over. It is not. The battle was a single event. Life is a campaign. The true warrior knows that victory is not a destination. It is a discipline. It is the daily, unending process of maintaining your readiness. This is the final, most important habit. You must continuously sharpen the saw. You, your body, your mind, your spirit are the saw. To neglect its maintenance is to guarantee it will fail you when you need it most. The single prescription I wish I could write, the one that would do more good than any pill, is this: sharpen the saw. Dr. Joseph Erikson says, his tone shifting from that of a clinician to that of a philosopher. A patient will leave my office with a perfect plan, but a plan is just ink on paper. The victory happens in the small, daily acts of self-renewal. It's the most powerful medicine there is, and it's the only one you can't get from a pharmacy. The saw has 4 edges. To sharpen one while letting the others rust is the work of an amateur. The master tends to all 4. The physical edge, the blade and the handle. This is the most obvious edge. The body is the tool. To mistreat it is like leaving your finest axe out in the rain to rust. This is not about the grim punishment of the gym or the joyless deprivation of a diet. That is the thinking of a slave. The warrior finds virtue and even joy in the discipline. The joy of movement. You must reimagine exercise not as a chore, but as an expression of gratitude for a body that works. It is the artisan taking pleasure in the smooth, efficient movement of a well-oiled machine. A walk is not a medical prescription, it is a conversation with the world. A stretch is not a task, it is the simple freedom of inhabiting your own frame. Find a movement you don't hate. Walking, swimming, dancing, gardening, and practice it with the quiet dignity of a craftsman tending to his tools. The power of nourishment. Food is not your enemy, it is your fuel. You would not put dirty, sludgy oil in a high-performance engine, so why would you fuel the magnificent engine of your body with processed junk? The philosophy is simple. You are either building yourself up, or you are breaking yourself down with every bite. To eat real, nourishing food is an act of profound self-respect. It is sharpening the very steel of the blade. The mental edge, the whetted mind. A sharp blade with a dull mind behind it is a danger to itself. Your mental state is a critical edge of the saw. After a health scare, the mind can become a minefield of anxiety and fear. Sharpening this edge is an act of command. The peace of understanding. You have read this book. You have learned the language. This is not a one-time event. Revisit the knowledge. Remind yourself of the difference between a real signal and a pretender. Knowledge is the whetstone for the mind. It grinds away the rust of fear and replaces it with the fine, polished edge of reason. The practice of mindfulness. Your mind will produce anxious thoughts. That is its nature. The Stoics did not try to stop these thoughts. They simply refused to serve them. Mindfulness is the practice of the watchman on the walls, observing the thoughts as they come and go without running to open the gates for them. A few minutes of quiet breathing is not a mystical act. It is the practical drill of a soldier learning to hold his ground under fire. The social, emotional edge. The shield wall. No Roman legionary fought alone. His strength was multiplied by the man to his left and the man to his right. His shield protected his neighbor, and his neighbor's shield protected him. To isolate yourself is to be picked off. The strength of the testudo. Your relationships, your spouse, your family, your trusted friends are your shield wall. This is your support system. When you're feeling weak, you can lean on their strength. When you share your struggles and your victories, you are reinforcing the entire formation. Connection is not a weakness. It is a strategic imperative. It is the understanding that you are part of a legion. You do not have to bear the entire weight of the shield yourself. The spiritual edge. The purpose of the axe. An axe, no matter how sharp, is just a piece of metal without a purpose. Why was it forged? What great trees must it fell? This is the spiritual edge. This is your why. The power of legacy. You have faced your own mortality. This is not a curse. The Stoics called it memento mori, a reminder of death that gives life its urgency and its meaning. You are still here. Why? Your purpose now can be found in your health mission statement. It is to live with vitality, to be there for the people you love, and perhaps most powerfully, it is to become a source of light for others. Your journey, your discipline, your victory over fear. That story is now your legacy. By sharpening your own saw, you show others how to sharpen theirs. You become the quiet example of a life well lived. The work of the woodcutter is not the felling of the tree. That is the end result. The work is the rhythmic scrape of the file against the steel. It is the daily, unglamorous, and deeply satisfying act of preparation. You are the axe. The four edges are your responsibility. Sharpening them is not something you do once. It is the work of a lifetime. The work is never done, and that is a beautiful thing.
Conclusion: living a heart-centered legacy. When a Roman general returned victorious from a long and arduous campaign, he was sometimes granted a triumph. It was a grand procession through the city streets, a public celebration of the obstacles overcome and the peace secured. It was not the end of the general's life, but the beginning of his legacy. The campaign had changed him. He had faced the enemy, he had faced himself, and he had returned with the wisdom that only comes from the crucible of conflict. You have completed your campaign. You began this journey at a frightening and uncertain pass, a strange signal from your chest shaking the very ground beneath your feet. You could have fled, you could have frozen, but you chose the warrior's path. You chose to be proactive. You chose to lead. We end now where we began, with you, not as a patient, not as a victim, but as the commander in the driver's seat, the consul of your own life. The map is in your hands, the legion is assembled. The North Star, your personal health mission, is bright in the sky. This is the great paradigm shift. The event that you once saw as a potential death sentence has been transformed. The obstacle has, in fact, become the way. That pain, that flutter, that terrifying moment of uncertainty was not an attack on you. It was a message for you. It was a summons from your own body, an urgent, desperate call for leadership. And you answered. This book was never about a condition. It was about a decision. The decision to stop being a passive bystander in the story of your own health and to become its protagonist. A life defined by a condition is a life of fear, of looking over your shoulder, of waiting for the next bad signal. A life lived with purpose is a life of vitality, of moving toward a goal, of using the wisdom you have gained to make better choices. The goal was never just to save your heart, Dr. Joseph Erikson said in our final conversation. The goal was to help you live a more heart-centered life, a life where the physical organ is respected, yes, but where the heart as the seat of your courage and your purpose becomes the true center of your world. Your proactive journey is now your legacy. It is not a legacy written in stone, but one lived in the daily, quiet choices you make. When your children or your grandchildren see you choose a walk over the couch, that is your legacy. When your spouse or your friend sees you prepare a nourishing meal, that is your legacy. When you face a moment of uncertainty, not with panic, but with the calm application of reason and your action plan, that is your legacy. You inspire them not with words, but with the quiet authority of your example. You show them what it means to take ownership, to be a leader in their own lives. This is the triumph that truly matters. It is a victory that ripples outward, strengthening your entire legion. The messenger in your chest will continue to send dispatches. That is its job. But you are no longer afraid of the message. You have learned its language. You have learned to honor it with a deep and abiding respect, for it is the most honest and vital correspondent you will ever have. Listen to it, respect it, and lead.